Hello, Rabbi Manis Friedman. Thank God it's Tuesday. So missed you. I hope you had a wonderful time at the retreat, and I hope everything was amazing there, which I'm sure it was. But today, before you even get a chance to answer, I'm going to ask the question that has been on everybody's mind lately. It's a question that really everywhere you go, people ask the same question. Everything is revealed, the evil, the lies, everything is so out there, so out on the open, yet nothing is being done. That is the question that people are asking. So that would be the first part of today's conversation.
Is that a question or a complaint?
It's definitely a question and a complaint. More of a complaint than a question, actually.
Why isn't anyone doing anything?
Yeah.
It is a very good question and a very serious complaint.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like a stage of shock. People are in shock at the blatant evil. We don't know how to respond. We're like stunned. I'm sure there are more legal complications and all sorts of political considerations, but it is very upsetting and disturbing that there isn't a decent response to this craziness. But it'll happen. It has to.
The question is
when.
How can this continue going the way it's going, and people see everything and no one can do anything? How can it be?
Should we be optimistic and believe that something is being done?
Yeah.
But it's not being reported? That's possible. That would be very optimistic. Almost too optimistic. But that something will happen, of course something will happen. If nothing else, the evil will destroy itself. Just given time. So naturally, logically, what would happen, or what should happen, is that they turn against each other. There are too many players in this evil. Too many bosses. So it's bound to go bad just within itself. They'll start destroying each other.
Then the question, of course, is, Rabbi Friedman, when? When? How? What can we do to help it along? Because, I mean, realistically, we see everything. We see that those who are supposed to protect us, those are supposed to watch out for the ultimate truth, are the ones who are unfortunately manipulating the truth. I mean, and we can speak about it now because all the reports came out, the FBI, the COA, the DOJ, those are the people who are supposed to be protecting the truth, and they're completely manipulating and creating whatever reality they choose. So how can this be? And why can't we do anything about what can we do? Who can do what? Those are the crazy questions that's on everybody's mind.
So let's consider the possibility. Truth does not exist in individuals, in leaders. That's been the problem for all of history, that we relied on leaders, assuming that they know the truth, that they're interested in the truth, that they're working towards the truth, and then we find out that that's not the truth. So I think we're at this stage now where, this stage in history, not just in our country, where we don't want a solution. We don't want the good guy to beat up the bad guy. We don't want that anymore. We want what's really true. And what's really true, it does not belong to a few leaders or to a few, wise people. Truth belongs to everybody. It has to be a popular shift, not a new leader. So I think part of the paralysis is that we're still looking for a leader. Who is going to do it? There isn't going to be a who. It has to be everybody. Because truth is truth for everybody, equally. So what we need to do now is, we know that the evil is going to collapse. What are we going to do then? We got to be prepared. When evil loses its grip and we're free to be good, do we know how to be good? Are we ready to be good? How good are we going to be? This is what should be on our minds now. The good people should be strengthening themselves, making more clarity as to what is right and what is kosher and what is noble and what is not, what is godly, so that the minute the evil lets up, we can step in and allow what is true to be true. Well, I think we once spoke about this. There are facts and there are truths. The messed up world is a world in which the fact is not necessarily the same as the truth, and the truth is not necessarily a fact. The facts are the reality as they happen to be. Like we could say, right now, as the world exists today, the fact is not good people have all the power, have all the publicity. That's a fact. Does it need to be that way? No, it doesn't need to be that way. In fact, it shouldn't be that way. How should it be? Oh, that's the truth. The truth is the way things should be, must be, inevitably will be. That's the truth. But if it's not exactly happening right now in front of our eyes, then it's not a fact. It's the truth. But the truth has not become the fact of life. And the facts of life are very far from the truth, which is so obvious and blatant these days. We see the facts and we're stunned, because that's not true. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And yet it is. So, two realities, the reality that happens to be and the reality of how things must be, and therefore will be. So, when the facts surrender, are we ready to replace it with the truth? In other words, make the truth the fact. That's what we need to be focused on. How solid is our understanding and conviction and commitment to the way things must be. How must things be? Well, obviously, the way the Creator wants it to be. God wants the world a certain way. We have freedom of choice because we can go the other way, and we are often going the other way. But that's where fact and truth separate. How can fact argue with truth? The answer is because we have freedom of choice. Our freedom of choice can deny the truth and create facts that are not true. I mean, that's how real our freedom of choice is. It's real. Doesn't mean it's true. So this is what's happening. Why it's taking so long, it's a mystery. But it is happening. As we were saying already for 2 years, 3 years already. The evil is getting worse by the minute, and therefore it is doomed. And the good is getting stronger by the minute, and therefore it can and will replace the evil when the evil collapses. What can we do to make the evil collapse? Talk the truth. Celebrate the truth. Be excited about the imminent dawning of the truth. It's an exciting time and it's a nerve-wracking time.
Rabbi Friedman, where do we get the strength to get excited about the truth, to have the patience to wait for the truth to come out? Where do we get that strength? Where do we get that wisdom?
Like one famous Chassid in Russia said, do we have a choice? When you have no choice, you're as strong as you need to be. So we have no choice. And it's so clear. It's not like we're so noble that we don't have a choice. It's just so obvious. What's the choice? Just continue lying, continue cheating, continue stealing, continue corrupting. Well, that's not a choice. Not even an option.
But it's not our choice. It's the choice that we're faced with seeing other people practicing and conducting themselves in a certain manner.
No, I'm just responding to the question of where do we get the strength? You get it because you have to have it. There's no choice. And how do we get the patience to wait another day? Well, when there's no choice, there's no choice. So you don't have to be strong individually. It's just the way it is. So in this week's Parsha, by the way, we read about the process by which the Mishkan, the tabernacle, was moved from place to place. Every time the Jews moved, the Mishkan was dismantled and carried to its next stop. How was it carried? So we're told which family of the Levites, of the Leviim, carried what part of the Mishkan. There was the family that was in charge of the actual walls, the walls of the Mishkan. They were very heavy. They were made of, I believe it was 60 upright beams, side by side, that made up 3 walls. And then the 4th wall was a curtain. These beams were about 10 feet tall. And they were made of very solid wood, acacia wood or something. So they were very, very heavy. How were they carried? So the heads of the tribes contributed. Everybody contributed something. The heads of the tribes contributed wagons, ox-drawn wagons, on which the boards were placed when they had to move them. Strange thing is that the wagons didn't seem to be big enough for their load. There were only 4 wagons to carry 60 boards. So the Rebbe asks, everything in the Mishkan was done very rich. Gold and silver and copper, and yet when it comes to the wagons, they seem to be really stingy. Only 4, and they weren't very big. Oh, just about big enough for the boards to sit on it without scraping against each other. But they were stacked. So it's a strange thing that in this place of wealth, all of a sudden, you can't afford to make more wagons or bigger wagons. So the Rebbe draws a conclusion and a lesson from that. When you have wealth, it almost implies waste. If you're rich, you have money to burn. That's a popular expression. If you have wealth, then you squander. Why not? I'm rich. The moral of the lesson that we get from this, the wagons that carry the Mishkan, is that wealth is great, but waste is unjustified. Which means everything we have in the world is there for a reason. Now, what happens if you use your resources for the reason that they were given, but you use it carelessly? So a little detail is lacking. So a little bit of it is wasted. So a little bit is, so you have a talent, which is a wealth. It's a form of richness. You're blessed with a talent. The talent was given for a reason. It's not an accident or a coincidence that this person has this talent. There's a reason. The reason means that it is all part of this vast eternal plan. The reason you have this talent is because by using this talent, you contribute to the perfection of this world. And God wants his world perfect. So what would happen if you have a talent, you use it, but you don't try that hard, it comes easy. So you do a pretty good job. Pretty good. That means that the talent you were given is not maximally used for its purpose, which means that its purpose is not achieved. So the person can be content. Yeah, I'm a pretty good artist. I'm a pretty good singer. Making a living. It's fine. But if you stop and think, now wait a minute, there's a divine purpose. This talent was given to you by God for a specific reason. If you don't use it to its maximum, then the whole fabric of creation is missing something. It's a pretty serious consideration. So, number one, wealth should not include waste. You have money to burn? No, you don't. Because with every dollar, you can do something magnificent. So you cannot burn a dollar, even if you have 1 billion of them. Number two, if you don't use every dollar, if you don't use every dollar that God gave you, you're messing up God's plan. Because to God, every dollar has its purpose. It's necessary, indispensable in the fulfillment of God's plan. Nothing is wasted. And so the lesson is, you have 60 boards and you can stack them on 4 wagons. Yeah, 5 wagons would make it easier. 6 would be even more comfortable. So why not? Why not? Because you can stack them on the 4 wagons by using the maximum space and weight and so on of the 4 wagons. You can get it done. So why would you have 5? See, if you have 5, it's easier or more comfortable or more. But in the 5th wagon, there's going to be some empty space. Because if you can fit them on 4, then if you put them on 5, there's going to be some empty space. Or if 4 oxen can carry the entire weight, but you make another wagon with 2 more oxen, well, the oxen are not using their full potential. So everything is being diluted. So the point of it is, waste is never justified, even a tiny bit, because every tiny bit has its purpose in God's plan. So the Rebbe once said to a famous writer, you have many, many readers and you have a lot of influence. If you don't use all the influence to its maximum, there is waste. So be careful what you write, because you want it to have the maximum effect. Millions of people read your book. Well, then you have to have a positive effect on millions of people. I mean, we know that the Rebbe himself, there are ambitious people, very productive people. Every day must be productive. You have to accomplish something. You do not let a day go by. That's good. Then there are people who will not allow an hour to go by. One of the previous Rebbes said, a winter night and a summer day are a year. The long winter nights is like a whole year, and the long summer days is like a whole year. If you let one go by, you wasted a year. Okay, so there are people who will not allow, let's say, a week to go by without some accomplishment. There are people who won't allow a day to go by without an accomplishment. There are people who won't allow an hour to go by without accomplishment. And the Rebbe, as we all knew him, would not allow a minute to go by without filling it with substance. Every minute is accounted for. Why? Because if God gives you a minute, that's a divine mission for that minute.
Rabbi Friedman, I apologize for this, but I'm going to ground this conversation a little bit. And since we're talking about money and waste, how about deficit and debt? Because we're facing right now, in America, we have at this point 31 trillion debt, which is equivalent to 94,000 per person. And all of it is because of the mismanagement of spending and revenue, and someone is in charge of this. We're not in control of this situation. We just, like in everything else, follow along and deal with what we're being dished out. How do we treat this? I mean, I'm glad we're talking about money, but how do we rationalize this situation in accordance to Torah and wisdom, of course, which we count on from you?
Okay, so it's impossible. It's impossible in the old paradigm. In order to pay the debt, you have to make more money. Enough to pay the debt. It's not possible. Not going to happen. But we're thinking along the old system. You have to make money, you have to produce, you have to... That old system is not going to work anymore. There has to be a completely different way of sustaining ourselves and the planet. It can't be the old way. And in some perverse, wicked manner, these people are actually helping bring about the new paradigm, because there's no way you can fix it according to the old paradigm. So, when people would say, we're running out of wheat, there's not enough wheat. Yeah, if you continue making as much wheat as you made yesterday, then for tomorrow there's not going to be enough. So what's the solution? Make more. Don't keep making the same amount you used to. You have a bigger family? Get a bigger refrigerator. Come on. Keep up. So the old way of making money in order to pay bills, that whole system, the whole monetary system that has worked for a very long time, it's over. And one of the reasons that it's over is because these people destroyed it. But that's okay, because it's time for it to go anyway. We need a whole new paradigm. And that is that nature has to suddenly open up and produce much more wealth, meaning resources, so that they don't cost money and it won't be expensive to live. Then all the money in the world will become irrelevant.
Rabbi Friedman, I'm glad you said the system, because it seems that all systems are broken, not just the financial system. Absolutely every system in the world nowadays is broken. And the question, I guess, of today, maybe I should have even said it differently, but we needed to get to this point, is how do we completely break the system? I've been meeting people who are doing a pretty good job, but they're single people out there. For instance, very recently, I met a woman who impressed me beyond. She has 2 degrees. She's an attorney and an accountant, yet she stays home and homeschools her children. She has a lot of children, and she doesn't want to be in the system. Basically, she's breaking the system of education, and she's breaking 2 systems, and the corporate system, sort of. She's not applying either one to her family. But this is a single person. And I'm very impressed with her. But how maybe there's a way the rest of us can jump on the bandwagon, since we're talking about wagons today.
Well, look at the prophecies about the future, the world to come. It's so interesting. One of the prophecies is that all delicacies will be available like dirt. Does that mean we're all going to be rich? No. It means you won't have to be rich to have delicacies. Delicacies means more than what is necessary. Like dessert. Not the meal, the dessert. So we're told that in the time to come, which is approximately now, everything will be available so abundantly, you won't have to buy it with money. That tells us that the whole monetary system is going to go and be replaced by a natural availability of all of life's necessities. How that's going to be, we have to use a little imagination. Think out of the box. Another thing that's going to change, people won't teach people. It's one of the prophecies. Because the truth will be so available, everyone will be able to reach it or to have it directly from God. You won't need a teacher. You certainly won't need an intermediary. Another prophecy. The young will lead their elders. Children will inspire their parents. The daughter-in-law will stand up against the mother-in-law. Now that's a prophecy. That one, everybody.
I think we've been practicing this one for a while.
Everyone is looking forward to that one. That the daughter-in-law can stand up to the mother-in-law successfully, not just fight. In other words, there will be a complete shift in almost every area of life. There will be no illness. Now, all of this, for thousands of years, was a matter of faith. It made no sense whatsoever. It was unimaginable. But if the Torah says, you got to believe that somehow all these miracles are going to happen. But now we see none of that is miraculous. None of it. It's all very doable with a little bit of imagination. And we see it happening in tiny increments. Everything is shifting. As you say, everything is not the same. Everything is shifting under our feet. So all the things that we're worried about may actually be good news. The financial system is collapsing? Yeah. Children don't listen to their parents? Okay. Even the environment, the ecology, the global warming or not warming, just shifting, changing, whatever. We don't know what's going on with the planet. Is that bad? Maybe. Could also be very good. Where nature is adjusting itself to providing wealth of resources so that you don't need paper money. It's all going towards a very good conclusion.
Rabbi Friedman, there are fear factors in this story, and big ones, and there are aggression and wars, and people are getting violent. We can see this right now. It's happening in Serbia. Obviously, the war of Russia and Ukraine is not getting any better. In fact, probably today it took a turn for the worse. We'll see. And of course, there are other parts of the world that are also showing a lot of violence and aggression, and it's very scary to see where that's going.
One other thing that is shifting under our feet is something we have talked about, which I don't think anybody else is talking about. And that is our entire relationship with life itself. People are saying that because of technology, and to a great degree because of the media, the movies and the video games, life has become cheap. We don't respect life anymore. Not even our own lives, and certainly not other people's lives. Somebody was just saying, and I think there's some truth to it. You have rifles that can shoot a person a mile away, maybe even more. The snipers can eliminate a person, can kill a person from a mile away. Now, if you shoot somebody from a mile away, what do you feel? Nothing. It's a mile away. It's like a little, literally like in the video games. You shoot people, they fall, they die. There's no, we're not as attached to life in general. Not necessarily because of violence. Life has just lost its power. People would do everything and anything to stay alive. Today is like, if it's getting to be too much of a hassle, to heck with it. Who needs it? So I won't live. Who cares? That attitude can be very scary when you hear it in children, when you see the increase in suicides.
Assisted suicides, like in Canada, up to 4,000 people a year nowadays, and it's becoming a common thing. People can choose it, and not necessarily even if they're fatally ill. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And by the same token, the shootings are so callous. It's not, did you kill somebody? No. How many people did I kill? It's numbers. It's what's the positive side to that? The positive side to that is, in the very near future, in the immediate future, we're going to stop worshiping life, and we're going to start worshiping the purpose of life. Life itself without a purpose, yeah, you're right. It's nothing. You're here and you're gone. What's the difference? So the devotion to life rather than the purpose of life has never been good. It was necessary. It was what motivated people. Oh, you have to live, you have to survive, you have to be healthy, in Yiddish, be gesund. You got to be gesund. That's the most important thing, is it? So, again, a paradigm shift. In the future world, life will be valuable only because of its purpose, not in and of itself. So all of these adjustments are very scary if you're living through it. But once we get to the other side, it's going to be very good. So it's not just war. War is not appreciated anymore. It's just that killing doesn't seem to bother anybody. So even when there's no real reason for a war, why not? You're getting on my nerves, let's make a war. It's so callous, it's so indifferent to life, including their own life. I mean, the willingness to die, it's not noble. It's like it's a jaded attitude towards life. So all of this is happening, and we were chosen to be the generation that will go through this transformation. And transformation is always scary. even though we're transforming to the good. But, we're very comfortable with the old.
Rabbi Friedman, I will have to just ask one more thing. While we're transitioning, a lot of people are going through difficulties. Even though maybe we don't have respect for life anymore as we should, but the mothers who are losing their children are definitely have a different perspective on this. And the people who are losing their businesses and their jobs because of the recession and the debt and the collapsing of the economic system, and they can't, while we're transitioning, feed their families properly or take care of their families properly. They can't concentrate on the positive. What are the words of wisdom for those who are experiencing this change in a harsher way than others?
That's a very painful question. But lately I've been observing people who, God forbid, lose their children. They're so moral about it. You notice that we call it heroic, that they want to do good in the memory of the child, and they're asking everybody to do mitzvahs. That never happened before. It never happened before. God forbid, when there was a tragedy, everybody turned inward. They became isolated. They became introverted, and they suffered silently. It's not what's happening. And that too it's a blessing and a change that is going unnoticed. But everybody I talk to, once you think about it, yeah, that's true. And the people in Israel who lost children, and their reaction is so angelic, and they're not hiding, and they're not withdrawing from life. On the contrary. So we need to have a little bit of a flexibility. We're going through changes, great global changes. We have to be a little bit free of the old habits, because none of them are going to survive. All the old habits are gone. We're going into a new world. We don't know what that's going to be like exactly, but just knowing that can be helpful. So even a death today means something different than it did for my grandparents. There's something different. People are reacting differently. Never ever heard of a family losing a child and going public. Let's do something great in the memory of this child. Never. It's awesome. So what's with the bad news? I don't know why the transition has to include pain. I don't know. And a good explanation won't help either.
That's true.
But at least to know that is what's happening.
Rabbi Friedman, another question that people cannot help but asking, how long can this transition take? Are we just in the beginning stages of it? What do we have ahead of us? We need to somehow conserve our strength to be able to go through this.
We need to remain proactive. Don't sit back and wonder. That's not helpful. I don't know if we talked about it on this program. In previous generations, when the suffering became really, really difficult for the Jewish people, What did all the rabbis say? Where were all the wise leaders and teachers? What did they all say? Almost without exception, they said, it's our own fault. We're sinning. We're not behaving right. God is punishing us. Until the Baal Shem Tov, which means for about 2,000 years of exile, that was the response and that was the attitude. Today, we look at that and we think, well, no, that's not right. That's a terrible thing to do. People are suffering and then you blame them. That's not nice. How is that helpful? It was helpful, believe it or not. It was very helpful. When there is nothing but misery, year after year after year, almost any period of Jewish history, how do you not become a victim? How do you stay afloat? How do you not drown in your misery? A very, very helpful solution or suggestion is take the blame. They're all out to get us. They all hate us. They're all going to kill us. They. No. Has nothing to do with they. It's your behavior that's causing it. So get a grip, fix your behavior, and the problem will go away. It was amazing how that worked. The more blame you took, the less victim you were. That's amazing. Today, that doesn't work. Since the Baal Shem Tov, there has been a shift. Today, the same principle applies. If you sit back and wonder why things are so bad, you're a victim. Don't be a victim. How? Not by taking the blame, by taking the reins and guiding the wagon. You know, grab the steering wheel and lead in a good direction. Be proactive. That prevents us from becoming paralyzed and victimized. It really works.
Rabbi Friedman, amazing. Thank you for shifting our focus from negative to positive, from pessimistic to optimistic. It's a job that you daily. This is, I think, what you've been set out to do for the world in these difficult times, and you do it amazingly well, and you don't waste a second, for sure not. Thank you so much.
Okay, so to sum it up.
Yes.
Don't try to fix problems according to the old system, because we're entering a whole new system. And it's a much better one than the one we've had.
We're going to have to try to figure out what that system is. And thank God it's Tuesday. So far is on Tuesdays every week. So Rabbi Friedman, thank you for this absolutely priceless time that you give us, and the wisdom and the positivity, optimism, and light that we need so much in this ridiculous time. Good time.
We certainly do. We certainly do. Thank you.
Thank you.